Turns out I bought my dream car, and I had a couple realizations after getting it that I thought would be valuable to share. So my name is William Gill. A little bit of context, I've been coaching fitness for around 7 years now. Then I coached sales for approximately 2 to 3 years, and I now help people with their mindset, transformational work, helping them recreate themselves to create more of the life and version of themselves that they want to be. And this whole thing happened with one dream. Literally, a convertible was always a car that I had wanted. I always loved the idea of the roof down, get a sick pump on the way to the gym, just tunes blasting. And I always just told myself it wasn't until, I could afford the 500K or the 1 mil Bentley convertible that I would get something. And time and time again, I'd get these surges of inspiration to get a car that I really liked. And I would say no because the mindset might have been, oh, well, I'll stick with the bare minimum to save money and not buy a depreciating asset. And I'll continue to grow. And I did that for a long time. And eventually I just would keep thinking about it. I'm like, man, I just want one. Like, I really just want one. And I ended up having this dream. And something very funny happened in this dream was I was shopping for a convertible. And the convertible that I was looking at, it was in the shed of this house, actually. And I was looking for one. And I was walking around the vehicle. It was an emerald green color. And I just remember kind of checking it out, different features. And that was pretty much it. I ended up waking up and I was like, okay, I was shopping for the convertible. I go to start my car that very morning and it doesn't start. And I go, you know what? I'm almost not surprised. Like, I was almost mentally primed for buying a new car. I had the dream about it. And then my car doesn't start. The battery died. And I kind of took that as a sign. I took that as a synchronicity. It's been something I've pushed back so long. I could afford it. So I may as well, right? I could either fix this car or get a new one. So I actually did buy a battery for the old car and it was working, but I just took it as a step to step up. So 13 days later, I had the car. I took action. I was looking around. I found this. It's got great mileage on it. It's pretty much brand new for what it is. It's not the craziest model, but it's like a really good steal. And something interesting happened the first day, which was I kind of felt down. And I almost wasn't surprised for feeling down because I had heard of stories where people would like accomplish their goals and they wouldn't feel the best and they felt empty. And so I kind of expected some degree of that, but I felt down because I wasn't sure yet if it was a good decision. Obviously, the old narrative I created was don't waste money, don't this, don't that, don't invest into depreciating assets. And so I was conflicted between, like this is cool, but then I'm kind of not sure. And it was affecting my mood. I couldn't appreciate it. I was driving the car with my partner and I'm just like, whatever. I just feel like I'm going A to B. Like, what was the point of this? Like looking too much into it, not relaxing and just enjoying it the way that I used to like visualize driving in a convertible car. But so from that point in time, I was obviously talking with my partner on that same day, like, hey, I'm going to give it some time, see how I feel about it. And of course, the next day I go about my life. Expectations have been removed. I take pre-workout, go to the gym, exactly what I had always wanted. And it's fun. I'm zipping through and all of this. So that was very cool. So now it's pretty much just like, all right, it's become normal. It's a part of my life now to be having a certain standard. But here's what I realized, because I was going through a lot of ups and downs mentally and fear-based thinking. And the very first thing that I was challenged with when I was getting this was just deciding financially if I was like comfortable to do it. If I was like wanting to put money towards this and versus put it elsewhere. So what had happened was that my RAS, my reticular activation system, was looking at all the losses that I was having, you know, and if I got anything that was a degree of a perceived loss, then I would question if I should actually get this still. So I was going through like this, oh man, like it just seems like right when I want to make the move, things are being taken away from me. And two things I learned from that. Number one was, well, the feelings of the fear that I had about the car after variables came in was not it wasn't my true feeling about actually getting the thing, right? Getting the nice thing. The true feeling was actually before the fearful thoughts came in. That's more of a true how I feel about this decision, right? That's number one. The second thing is typically when you make a change in your life, when you step up and you change the narrative in your life, like me having a not shitty, but like an older car was always something that I was a bit like, I wasn't really happy about it. When you start changing that narrative, things will show up and challenge you that still align with the old narrative of who you were. And when you're really making that shift, a lot of things will come up that will, in a way, feels like is trying to pull you back to the old reality. And you have a choice to pretty much continue the old narrative of how you have been, or to let go of that story of who you were and step into now who you're going to be. So when you're making those changes, you have to have the perspective and almost expectation that challenges will arise, and it's up to you, like a good friend of mine always says, to press confirm on deleting the old narrative and say, no, I am making the change, consciously making the change, and trusting that things will show up as it needs to serve the new version of you. And that was really good because it's just simply true, right? Things did come up positively after the fact. The second thing, obviously, after that first day driving this, I was like, well, you know, it's not all that, blah, 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 blah. And it's not. Like, it's not about this being the answer to life and this giving me happiness. It's rather an extension of who I had to become to normalize this, right? The level of thinking that I had to adopt to normalize driving this, to normalize paying a certain amount for certain things, to normalize the representation of what this is for me, right? Because in reality, from that first day aside, it's really fun driving this. It's really fun pulling the rooftop down. It's actually just fun. And there are some days I drive it and I just don't want to be driving in the first place. It's like, oh, whatever. It's not even thinking about the car. But the point is, it's not about the thing. It's not about climbing up the mountain and getting the thing that will fix someone. It's about who you became along the way in order to have this thing. But the moment you're placing the power on this thing as being it, the perspective starts to typically lead to a lot of disappointment because this is up here in your hierarchy. So what happens is that you almost put the control outside of yourself. You go, oh, well, this will give me happiness. And then when you have it, like obviously it's just a thing, you know, you drive it and all of this, but then you still live your life. You still think your own thoughts. And if you haven't mastered that, then you're going to still experience those same habitual thought patterns that you had regardless of the car. It's not like this will fix that. What determines your experience here is how you live, how you think, how you feel, how you act. So if you can bring it down to the fundamentals of how you think, how you feel, and how you act, and you become a master of those, then pretty much everything out here, the car, the house, whatever it is, will just be a representation of the foundation of those three things. So the importance really should be on those things, because it's literally creating more of what you're experiencing. So that's the most powerful thing. In reality, how you feel, you have control of that because you have control of your thoughts. So when the power of how you feel is placed on things outside of yourself, it's pretty much subject to potential disappointment and so on and so forth. You can feel excitement sometimes, disappointment, but the whole point is that you think it's that. In reality, it's this. So that was like a big reference point, even though I logically knew that, I did notice a bit of myself placing importance on it. I'm like, oh, is it gonna fix me now? Is it gonna like change the results in my life now having it? No, it's simply gonna make me feel a certain way, which will then spread into other areas of life. But the reality is actually all just me in the first place. It's just really how I show up that really dictates my reality. It's not the car. And that leads me to the last point, which is sometimes, even if a decision isn't the most rational, if it's a calculated risk and it lights you up and you actually just feel so good doing it and your vibration is just on point, then that high vibrational frequency that you take on from doing those things bleeds into other areas. Like when I got this, all of a sudden my social life was picking up more. I'm like taking people out. I'm making more connections. I'm like feeling good. And because I'm feeling good, now I'm going about my day. So again, it's not that the car did that. It was like a permission slip for me to make that change. In reality, I could have made the change, but it just helped. And sometimes it's fine to do those things, to have those permission slips that we use in life and that actually we just find really fun to help boost our state. And when our state is elevated, our quality of action and thought is elevated. And that's the importance of state and actually doing things you're passionate about. Like not getting things and not getting this car from a point of seeking validation because you feel empty, but actually getting it because it's really for yourself and you actually just love it and it lights you up just doing it. When it comes from that place, it actually really, really helps. And that was another thing that I learned, that it's okay to do things that other people advise against, because no one knows your formula of how you like to live. And that's the beauty of life, is you get that choice of how you want to live. And you have your own things that light you up, and you can tune in and make the ultimate decision of whether you want to follow through with that. Like when I got this car, I had a lot of people advise, oh, you know, European cars have problems and this and that. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I still want it. I like it. I like the look of it. I like the feel of it. This is my decision. And that's enough. That's enough. So do things that light you up, because when you're operating from a lit up place, the quality of your actions are enhanced. And when you have a quality energy, you're reciprocated better in the world. Energy is a language. When you go into a room and you can feel someone's energy, you already start forming opinions. So imagine when you operate every day and you're lit up and you're feeling fucking great, how you get perceived in the world, and also how your positive thoughts seep into then what actions you take, and then determines what reality you create. So that is it. It's a great car. Again, it's not everything. I'm not like, oh, was it still worth it? It's like, no, it's just an extension. It's fun. I'm grateful, and I'll continue to live my life and manage my thoughts, emotions, and actions, and make sure I'm coming from the best place no matter what, because that's the most important thing. I hope this helps.